Hello, and welcome to A Better Morning. I'm Heather Klein. We debate the trending topics in sports from a sports betting point of view. Let's welcome today's panel. Award-winning host, the fantasy exec, Corey Parson. Host of Her Story in the Making, Britt's Fantasy Blitz, and co-host of Lightning Round, Britt Flynn. Fantasy Alarm lead NFL analyst and host of Fantasy Fiasco, Andrew Cooper.
Yes.
Welcome, everyone.
Morning, Heather. All these new shows we got going.
I know, right? Corey, when's your new show, The Executive Boardroom with the fantasy exec?
Well, I guess we got I'm like the running backs.
You're holding out.
Yeah, I'm like the running backs.
Yeah, on the jet ski right now, waiting for the contract.
Exactly.
All right, that's fair.
Did you have a Google Meet about this, Corey?
No, I did not. I did not have a Google Meet about it, but we could have something later on today.
A meeting that has no point, just a nice vent session.
Yeah, me and Britt, we're like Joe Mixon. We're just like, yeah, whatever. It's whatever. We'll hang out. Yeah. All right.
All right, let's get it going. The Orioles won the divisional series against the Rays yesterday and now lead the AL East by 2 games. The Birds are on pace for 99 wins, which would be the first time since 1980. With what felt like a playoff-like atmosphere, how do you think Baltimore should attack the trade deadline to make them an even deadlier team to finish the regular season, first in the division and successful in the post? Britt, you're up.
So the Orioles should attack the trade deadline, but I just don't expect them to do that. They only have an active payroll of $70 million, so they definitely have the money to do it. And they do need some veteran help on the mound. But that report saying that they're going to be measured buyers doesn't really give me any confidence that this move is going to happen. They may go out and get some depth pieces, but I don't think that they go out and grab like a Verlander or another big name. They're also going to have a problem figuring out who to deal if they do put their hat in the ring, because their roster is so full of so much young talent that they're not willing to part with. I still think that even if they make some smaller moves, that they can shore up their pitching staff and make a big run in the post, but I don't expect it to be any big names coming out of this deadline.
Yeah, no, if I've been a poverty franchise for the last 4 decades, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? You got the AL East lead this deep into the season. Just go into there with the pieces you got. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's going to be excited. You know what I mean? You get to see the beautiful Camden Yards in the postseason and, Baltimore Orioles playoffs. I heard it was a thing back in the day. Matter of fact, one of my dear uncles, God bless his soul, was a big-time Baltimore Oriole fan. You know what I'm saying? So definitely good to see the franchise back in action. Now, obviously, the Major League Baseball playoffs is about 2 things, bullpens and clutch hitting. So maybe, adding a little bit of strength to their bullpen can, help them a little bit. But if I'm the Baltimore Orioles, I'm like, hey, Poppy, don't touch it. It's school, Poppy, don't touch it.
Classic baseball fan, Corey. Baseball fans are the weirdest bunch, man. Every other sport, football, basketball, hockey, if your team is winning, you realize how difficult it is and you push the chips and you try and win. And people say, they should hang, like Corey says, with the, what they've built. That's what the Astros did. That's actually not what the Astros did. They took like their 3rd, their 9th, and 11th prospect and traded them all for Justin Verlander, right? I'm not saying that this team should go out and trade for Justin Verlander now, but I think they do need another arm. I think they should probably they have a crazy depth with all these pieces. They should probably go out and trade for somebody like Jordan Montgomery or just anybody to help them. Anything to say that you recognize you have a special year and you did a little something extra to make it a little more special.
It's crazy that we live in an MLB where the Baltimore Orioles are buyers. Like, you know what I'm saying? If like we would have had 2023 tarot cards coming into the season and you would have told me that the Baltimore Orioles would be buyers going into the August trade deadline, I would have scratched my head. So that's why I'm like, sit still. See, back in them days, Houston was ready to win. Do we really think Baltimore is ready to win? Baltimore can't compete with Atlanta, and I don't even think they can.
If they're not ready to win now, when are they going to be ready to win? And baseball is so weird like that, where the picks don't seemingly matter ever in trades. Nobody ever trades for picks, and the prospects are highly coveted, even though most of these guys aren't going to do anything. Right? It's just Play to win now. Go out and try and win now.
Yeah, because the Yankees will be back next year.
Might
So
as
you're
well
right.
try and win now. And then that's what these small market teams do, right? Like the Marlins, you win and then you just take all your good players and give them to the big market team and then they win.
Well, and part about winning now is that they're going to have to get some help with their pitching staff. I mean, Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells have been good starters, but they're inexperienced. Their vet, Kyle Gibson, has a 4.76 ERA. And if you get down the stretch, that's not going to get it done against some of these super teams. So I think if they are in win now mode, then they need to go out and get some help on pitching.
Cardinals.
So how they got all of these wins already then if the staff is shaky?
Because baseball's dumb.
Baseball's weird. Well, I mean, we can talk about the Reds and their pitcher who's given up a 9 ERA in his past 9 starts. But, I mean, their hitting's been so good that it hasn't really mattered. Once you get down that stretch, though, and start playing like back-to-back really tough rivals and really tough matchups, it's going to get into your head. It's going to make them shakier, and they're probably not going to do so well. So they need to get some backup help in the mound.
Right. And my question with when you have all these hitters, right? It's like, what is actually the long-term game plan? Like, if you like your lineup now, as Corey suggests, and then you've got this crazy deep bunch of hitters, like, is the game going to change where now you can have more players on the roster? Or, I mean, like, at some point, the plan is to move some of these guys, is it not? So why not now?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. J.K. Dobbins, Chase Claypool, Breece Hall, and Randall Cobb are among the players that have already been placed on the PUP list. Yesterday, Kadarius Toney and Amari Cooper also left practice early with minor injuries. From the list of guys that are on the list currently, who are you worried most about on your fantasy football team this season? Corey, you're up first.
Yeah, if J.K. Dobbins can't get on the field and get it rocking this year, you know what I'm saying, then we need to kind of worry about his contract coming up and his future moving forward. Kind of like almost 2 years removed past this knee injury. So, listen, I understand him starting off on the PUP. They're still optimistic. What's homegirl Josina Anderson, the great Josina Anderson, said that he would likely be back and be up there ready to rock and roll for week 1. So you do want to see Dobbins because I think he can be a good piece. Breece Hall would have been nice to see him not start on the PUP list, but he does. I could see Breece Hall having the season this year that Dobbins had last year, and Michael Carter's like a stealing drafts right now, along with some of those other Jet backups. So, yeah, I think that it's. I don't want to say it's pessimistic. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I did not like seeing Dobbins start the season on the PUP.
Yeah, this is kind of a who's who of who is usually banged up. And if you just add Michael Thomas and Sterling Shepard, I think you'd have the full set here. But Corey's right. J.K. Dobbins is the guy that's most concerning. And for me, it's not just the PUP list stuff. It's the fact that he's been threatening to hold out. So they go out and sign Melvin Gordon to a $3 million contract. And we'll talk more about that after. And the fact that they have a mobile quarterback. Like, now there's more things piling up against J.K. Dobbins versus all these other guys. And him and Breece Hall are the only two that are really being drafted in a spot where it's going to matter for fantasy football. And I'll say right now, the most interesting PUP list news is not who's on it, but who's not on it. I'm very surprised that Breece Hall is on this list, but Javonte Williams is not. I guess when they were saying that he was going to be ready for training camp, they weren't lying. It looks like he's actually going to be ready.
I still don't buy that Javonte Williams is going to be ready. I think that that's a ploy. He can still start out the season not playing. I think that they just want to get him out there in training camp and see what he can do. Because again, we've talked so much about how running on a treadmill is different from making cuts and actually working out on the field. So I can see him being placed on it eventually at a different point in time if he's not ready in practice. But I agree with the both of you about J.K. Dobbins. He's going as RB18 in drafts right now. And this injury, coupled with the fact that he's one of these running backs who are unhappy about his contract extension, it really worries me. Then you figure in the coach speak that Todd Monken said that he's going to run 4 wide receivers and throw like crazy. I don't know how much volume Dobbins was in line to get anyway. Now he's injured. Then they signed Melvin Gordon as a depth piece, and it didn't really worry me when that signing initially happened. I thought it was a bigger hit to Gus Edwards. But now this PUP list appearance and other factors, it all makes sense. So I can't see myself taking a lot of Dobbins anywhere.
Yeah, the interesting one,
I like
when I think
Dobbins.
about this list and the timing of all of it, Chase Claypool interests me because he was just out in France doing like some Bears, using like a fashion show and also some Bears camp. And then there was clips of him running routes just last week. So whatever he's dealing with now is brand new, and brand new injuries. Those actually scare me a little more than some of the other ones, right? Like
he slipped on a croissant while he was out there. You know what I'm saying? At Paris Fashion Week. Hey, listen, for them. And last week we saw about how running backs is broke, right? And then Melvin Gordon come right into the league and get almost the same amount of money as Joe Burrow getting this year. So I guess running backs not have to move back to 5'8". No time.
I said we talk about that later because I think this is big time posturing by the Ravens here. I've been trying to find out what the deal is with his contract, but my guess is that it's a couple
Incentives.
$100,000 guaranteed just to come hang out, and the rest is going to go away. But it's smart of the Ravens to do this because J.K. Dobbins is holding out, and they're basically saying, "Well, here's a solution right here. We're not going to pay you, and here's the solution standing right here. He's going to be at camp whether you are or not. So he'll get that money if J.K. Dobbins holds out or doesn't show up. Otherwise, they'll probably just say, hey, thanks for stopping by, but they're just using him as leverage to get J.K. Dobbins on the field."
It's kind of like the Giants signing James Robinson too. I mean, just getting a little bit more depth. We can say that James Robinson is washed all we want, and he probably is, but the fact that the Giants are taking that step to be like, well, we've got insurance in case you don't play, might not be the best insurance. It might be that general or whatever, online insurance that the commercials are instead of some progressive, but it's still insurance. And so I think that there are enough running backs in the free agent pool who are older and who are willing to play, that there are enough insurance pieces if these players do hold out and aren't able to go.
Somebody called Devontae Freeman. Hey, listen up though, but real talk though. If I'm the Giants, Saquon, go ahead, stay home. You know what I'm saying? Work out on your own. Make sure you're fit, ready to go. I don't want you getting hurt out here. You know what I'm saying? Tripping over somebody or getting hurt out here. J.K. Dobbins, I would like to see in camp to learn this new offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. And when they do their Zoom meeting, do you think they have things to say about these running backs that are crossing the proverbial picket line here? James Robinson, Melvin Gordon.
You better get your money.
Well, Mixon apparently participated on the Zoom call, and he was one who did cross the picket line and took less money. So to be a fly on the wall in that Zoom meeting would have just been
hilarious.
They should have met in person and did it. That would have been.
Yeah. Where are all of our IT people and our hackers out there to hack into the Zoom meeting and give us all the deets, spill the tea?
They're out there.
I want to know how everyone felt with Christian McCaffrey allegedly being at this call where he signed a contract for Bang.
I mean, I think
he'll be trying to get an extension.
Yeah, and he was outspoken saying that, even though he got this contract, that it wasn't fair that everybody else was being treated this way. So I kind of admire him for doing this and actually working towards the running back position as a whole and not just being like, well, I made my money, I'm out, don't care.
It's cool to be a part of the group. What I would tell the rest of the group, average 10 yards of carrying. I mean, average 10 yards of catching. You wouldn't have to worry about getting your money.
Yeah, I mean, the most interesting. I'm not sure. Did you guys see what Nick Chubb said? I think he put it in the best words. He said, There's really nothing we can do, and we're kind of handcuffed with the situation. Our production hurts us the most. If we go out there and run for 2,000 yards with so many carries, the next year they're going to say you're probably worn down. And that he put it in one sentence exactly what the problem is. To earn the contract, you need to do work that makes them say that now you're beat up.
And that's why they get their money early.
All right. The Madden 24.99 Club quarterback ratings have now been released. Chiefs Super Bowl champion quarterback leads the charge and ties Aaron Rodgers for most Madden appearances by a QB. Following Mahomes is Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and at fifth, Jalen Hurts. Do you think EA Sports got the top 10 correct, or is there someone that should be replaced? Coop, what's your thoughts?
Well, actually, I checked Twitter on this one, and the answer is the quarterback for everyone's favorite team should be on the list, no matter who it is, right? But in my opinion, the real answer here is this proves that they're not going to be objective about it in any way, and they're willing to let politics or whatever else get involved here. But when you make a list of the top 10 most talented quarterbacks in the league, and you can even leave off Justin Fields and say that he hasn't proven it with his arm yet, he only with his legs. But if you're making the list of the most talented, Deshaun Watson should be on the list. He should absolutely be somewhere on this list. And I don't care where he is, but if guys like Kirk Cousins are going to be here, Deshaun Watson should. Because when he does play, he's a top 5 quarterback every single time, right? We've never seen him be bad, essentially. We've just seen him miss time.
Kirk Cousins in prime time disagrees with you, but I don't really know how they have Jalen Hurts that low, to be honest. At number 5 with only an 88 rating, he had a 66.5% completion percentage, 8 yards per attempt, which was 3rd in the league, and then he had the rushing upside to boot. I know that Lamar Jackson is a former MVP, but he hasn't really done much since then, and even then, he didn't have the balance of a passing and rushing attack like Hurts has. I would even argue that Hurts should be second behind Patrick Mahomes. He also had the best passer rating versus zone coverage in the league last season and 5th best versus man. Then you factor in all the rushing touchdowns and ability to throw from a pocket. I mean, there's no way that he should be as low as 5th on this list.
So I glanced at this list in the wee hours of this morning, and I saw that the 7th-rated quarterback on this list was Dallas Cowboy quarterback Dak Prescott, and I immediately clicked off of this. Dak Prescott should not be a part of any top 10 unless it's top 10 most interception throws, top 10 most disappointed, top 10 biggest quarterback fraud, top 10 quarterback that excuses is made for. Come on with this Dak Prescott stuff. 7, but no Trevor Lawrence, no Deshaun Watson, but Dak Prescott and his 28 interceptions in 25 games makes this list. I just was talking to somebody the other day, and they told me they went through all of Dak Prescott's interceptions for last season, and only 4 of them was really his fault. I've never seen so many excuses made for a professional athlete in my life, and that's why he stinks.
We've hashed this over and over again. I think the analytics prove that number is correct. If you watch the film, if you break it down, Dak had a bad season last year, but he didn't have any weapons. He had CeeDee Lamb and a hurt Dalton Schultz, and that was it. And I don't think that you can put one bad season and knock him down in the rankings. I just don't.
I don't believe that quarterbacks that make $40 million need to have Jerry Rice, and Randy Moss on their team. He's got CeeDee Lamb. He's got a strong running game, a great offensive line. He makes $40 million a year. He is the weapon. That's the way I look at it. Like I said last week, when people talk about Mac Jones, they never mention that he got the worst weapons in NFL history. This is a team starting Devontae Parker and Kendrick Bourne possibly this year. So that's just my thoughts. We know where I stand on Dak, but anytime I get a chance to hammer number 4, I'm going to do it because everybody else kisses his butt.
I will say this, as a occasional Madden player and a fan of fun, even though recently I've said things on Twitter about Justin Herbert that is upset Bears fans, I'm on their side on this one when it comes to his speed rating. I kind of dug a little deeper here because I want to see who the fun players are, right? And in Madden, the faster, the more fun. Justin Fields, from what we saw on the field last year, he was like the 2nd fastest player in the game. And they not only don't have him with a 95 or better rating, he's not a top 10 speed guy, but they have Lamar Jackson that's faster. Do you think Lamar Jackson is faster than Justin Fields, Corey?
Oh, you see how Lamar Jackson runs?
Shifty.
Don't
He's
get me
shiftier.
wrong, Justin Fields is very fast. Lamar Jackson is Michael Vick. Yeah. Nobody else.
Lamar Jackson, I think, is shiftier. The spin move.
But speed, pure speed, I can see.
I think both of them, because they have Lamar like 96 speed, which is awesome. I think Fields should be higher than where he's at. I think he's at like 93. He should be at least 95, I think.
Let me ask y'all this. If the Bears don't make the playoffs this year, is it a disappointment?
Get ready for disappointment if it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it would be, but it's nothing that Bears fans aren't used to. I mean, we don't really know what this passing game is going to look like. Justin Fields has already put an enormous magnifying glass on himself, saying that he's top 5 of all time and he's going to throw for 4,000 yards this season. And now Chase Claypool's on PUP, and so one of their weapons is already gone. I'm just not seeing it happen. And so, yeah, but Bears fans will be used to it.
Wait a minute. How many yards he throw for last season?
Like 2,200.
Nothing,
Fields.
dude.
And he gonna go to 4,000 this year. He gonna throw more interceptions than Dak if he do that.
He's not gonna. Yeah, that's not happening. And that's the thing. It's interesting because the AFC is full of teams that are ready now, and the NFC feels like a bunch of teams that nobody wants to step up and say, "I'm ready." Like I'm going all in. The Lions. I just feel like they're not going out and getting weapons, right? Like nobody wants to be the team besides the Eagles and 49ers.
I'd throw Dallas in there too.
Yeah,
I agree.
I guess so.
I agree. Thanks to that defense.
The defense is a huge part of it. We'll give you that.
Yes.
It's that time again, guys, for Dealer's Choice. Give us your bet of the day. It could be on any topic and any sport. Corey, what you got?
I did that the other day, Friday. We did that FSGA futures draft with my friends from the Fantasy Football World Championship. And I'm looking back at that board. I took Pete Carroll to win Coach of the Year at 25-1. So I'm not really betting baseball every night, just trying to get some NFL futures together. And listen, Pete Carroll is one of the best coaches in the NFL. And it kind of gets overlooked. He's up there. Well, if you got like Tomlin and Belichick as 1 and 1A, then Carroll is like 2 with Andy Reid. You know what I'm saying? So I think he could win the division this year. Hell, I think they could win the NFC. So Pete Carroll, Coach of the Year, plus 2,500, a little sprinkle from the fantasy exec. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So for my dealer's choice today, I'm actually going to give a dealer's choice back to the listeners because I pulled up the DraftKings odds for DJ Moore and Mike Evans. And then I pulled up their ADP on the FFPC where a lot of the sharp gamers play. And there's a huge discrepancy, which leads us to believe that one of these places it has to be wrong here. And there's a bet to be made. DJ Moore, his yards, receptions, and touchdowns are set on DraftKings lower in every category than Mike Evans, to the point where the points difference for PPR amounts to Evans being projected to score 30 more points based on those lines. Yet DJ Moore goes pick 55, Evans goes pick 80. So either draft Evans higher or bet a lot of these unders on Evans. There's two options there. For me, I'm willing to move Evans up in fantasy drafts.
Got burned too much by Evans last season, but I think you might be onto something, Coop. I'm actually talking about NFL player props and futures this afternoon on Britt's Fantasy Blitz. So I'm going to give a little teaser to one of those props and say that CeeDee Lamb over 1,035 receiving yards at -135 on BetMGM is just a lock. In his first season as Dallas's legit wide receiver 1, he had over 1,300 yards, and he did that playing 5 games without Dak Prescott. Now with Dalton Schultz gone, who was Prescott's kind of security blanket at times, Lamb should continue to see a high volume of targets and continue to add yardage on those throws. He was 9th in the league last season in yards after catch, and he's one of the best in the league against man coverage. So I think that this is an easy winner.
Now, Brett, I got to ask you on this one that I think we all agree at Fantasy Lamb that CeeDee Lamb's awesome. He's on the cover of the draft guide for a reason. But are you worried at all that they moved on from Kellen Moore and that Mike McCarthy seems adamant about running the football?
No, because if they're not scoring points and not winning, Jerry's going to be down on the sideline and he's going to start calling the shots. That Mike McCarthy can say he's going to do whatever he wants, but when it comes down to it, they're throwing the ball.
I think, Coop, the proper way to run the offense is going to be how Mike McCarthy ran the offense when Kellen, what's his son name, Cooper Rush? When Cooper Rush was quarterback last year, he kind of more chill with that ridiculousness. Let me run the ball, play defense. So I think what you see is guys like Prescott, if he don't throw too many interceptions, and CeeDee Lamb, it'll go back to like the Tony Romo era where they're more efficient than volume. You know what I'm saying? So I think that'll be the case for Lamb. But, Coop, I think what's interesting, if I was, say, Howard Bender and I was chief content head honcho that get to sleep in the mornings, you should do an article on those differences that you find with the props and the ADPs. I think that's good content.
You know what's
right
funny
there.
about that, Corey, is if you go to fantasyalarm.com right now, click NFL tab and scroll down, there's one on there. And I'm actually upgrading it for right. So I dropped one on just the over-under lines. Right before the season, I'm going to drop one that has all of them, the yards, reception, touchdowns. So that's a great idea, Corey. Maybe we can bring you on as the assistant content manager. You have some great ideas that have already been done.
Oh yeah, so I'm sure Howard would love that.
But that is a great point though, because Vegas always seems to know things that we don't. They've got their insiders. They've got these really crystal ball at times. And some of their lines for a lot of these players are really interesting going into the year.
A couple years in a row, we've taken advantage of it. The year before last, they had Debo way above Brandon Ayuk. When Ayuk was going first in drafts, we were taking Debo. He had 1,400 yards. Last year, it was Jerry Jeudy over Cortland Sutton that we took advantage of. This year, check that article. There's a bunch in there. But, I mean, the lines they have set. The thing is, though, sometimes public sentiment pushes the lines. Like with Mike Evans, you could create the narrative that, he's had over 1,000 yards every single year. So they have to set his line at like 925 just in case. I mean, or just if they sit there and say, everyone's going to bet this guy no matter where we set it because they think he's going to get 1,000 every year, then we might as well set it at 925. So there's a lot that goes into it. That's why we break it down in the article. But I don't know. The odds for Mike Evans, it doesn't add up.
That's out there like that.
It's a good way to think about it.
It is stuff that's out there like that. You know what I'm saying? Look at the Baltimore Ravens. Their win total has been extremely low the past number of seasons. Now, they barely did get over it both seasons, but really only by a game. That, when Lamar Jackson was out. Once again this year, they come in 9.5. And I think the over is like minus $2 now. Baltimore will win 10 games because it's Baltimore, but it's they're an injury away from maybe that not being the case.
They're a couple injuries away with a couple players who could contribute to that too. Because you're saying you want to run 4 wide, you want to do this. Rashad Bateman's never been healthy a full season. Beckham's coming back after not playing. So, and then you've got Dobbins on the PUP list. So that overline's really
Mark Andrews
to me.
No, but Lamar Jackson and the tight end can get it done by themselves. See, that's a quarterback that don't need weapons. He can do it because he is a legit franchise quarterback, not a fraud that we're number 4.
It's all about Dak Prescott. We just changed this to the Dak Prescott debate show.
Yep. Might as well.
I'm gonna make him contact me.
Sorry,
You're probably already blocked on Twitter. Have you checked in a while?
I know. I might. I might. Let me see if I'm blocked on X.
It's X now. I forgot. That's right.
I swear, Corey, you need to be the new co-host with Skip Bayless for as much as he
I should be the new co-host with Skip Bayless. You know what I'm saying? I love Skip Bayless. Me and Skip will do a fantastic.
You guys do a good job stirring the pot. The two of you guys with 2 big ladles just stirring a big, pot every day.
I can even imitate Shannon Sharp. Come on now, Skip. How much Lamar been hurt the last 2 years? This isn't 2020. Okay, if he win the MVP this year, then so be it.
All right, that was today's edition of A Better Morning. Thank you to Corey, Britt, and Coop. Make sure you check out Fantasy Fiasco with Coop at 1 p.m. Eastern and Britt's Fantasy Blitz at 2. If you missed any of our shows, you can find them all on our YouTube channel and at bettersports.com. Have a better day, everyone.